Good evening, people. Here's how I understand it. This is going to be some kind of a follow up to the previous video that I titled. I don't exactly remember how I titled it, but I think it was something along the lines of, you know, what you're seeking for is actually yourself, and your goals are just the byproduct. And today I wanted to touch on using your gifts and affinities in a creative way as a way to connect to your personal power. And this links to what I could call, and what a lot of people could call, the fear of success. And we talk about the fear of failure a lot of time, but I think if you're anything like me and you've, you know, delved into your gift more than more than enough to realize that you actually have the potential to do something big, to do something great, that you've seen, you've been in situation where, where people have positively reacted to what you've put out. And if I'm being honest, in my case, it often created some kind of a fear, of not being able to cope with everything that would come with actually following through and being successful in my endeavors, which is a fear that is much more common than a lot of people realize. And I think you can get into this state of kind of paralysis, of, always wondering how different is this going to be, how much is going to change. You don't want to feel kind of overwhelmed. At the very least, this is how I felt it. And this can create a situation where you find yourself doing almost everything else but, pouring attention into your gift. Or you might, dabble. You might do it like kind of on the side. You might just, you know, dip in it from time to time, but never really to the point where it's like, okay, this is something I can consistently pour my attention into and trust everything around me to support me into making this into more than it actually is. And it ties to my previous video because these things sometimes are things that you could potentially use and monetize. These are things that could potentially be a bridge or a breakthrough through whatever conception of wealth you hold. But the problem is, we've been raised in a matrix where a lot of pressure has been associated to, and especially in those times, it sounds like you have to monetize everything. It sounds like you have to monetize your life, you have to monetize your hobbies, you have to, and it's like you don't really want the joy of the practice and the pleasure of the practice to be sucked out of whatever it is you're doing because you've turned it into a job. And I've realized something because I was writing a few minutes ago, and I make music for those of you who don't know. And I was kind of like listening to the beat and just writing my lyrics, coming up with things. And I realized if if it comes to, I can use this, not necessarily, I can completely drop the money aspect out of my mind and let everything else take care of itself, because you can actually use your gifts to speak to the universe, and this is between you and God. This has nothing to do with money. You can let money be a byproduct, but you can kind of use your gifts and your creativity and your joy to ask for more of it, because when you're actually fully, stepping into whatever it is that you're good, if not great, at, you're literally you're in touch with your personal power. The more time you spend on your gift and on your activities, because there are so many areas of of our lives where we feel like we're not in power, we're not in control, we're not capable, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. If you want to keep it to yourself, at the very least, be consistent with it, because the message you send, the waves you create, is that of, I'm actually good at this. I'm actually quite extraordinary. I have something that's very unique. I have something that people might be calling for. And if not other people, I myself is calling for it. So it's kind of, you're creating that positive feedback loop of you being in a place where you know that you're creating and interacting with something special, even if nobody else thinks anything of it. But because it's probably going to be the case for different cases for different people. You might, on the contrary, be very, you know, love what you're doing and not be too sure about other people's opinion. It's fine as long as you're looking at it as an opportunity to actually speak your love for your personal power and your sense of progress, and the feeling that you're enjoying what you're doing on a daily or consistent basis. You are doing something great. And this is what, you know it took me a while to realize that, because I was in resistance and I didn't really know where the resistance was coming from. But in hindsight, I think I did, because it was just this idea of, I'm putting so much pressure onto it. I'm tying so much of it, so much of my future, so much of my wealth, so much of my finances. I'm making it, depend on this single thing, because I've identified the potential of it. And I failed to realize that this is powerful in itself. This is a powerful practice. This is kind of you interacting with the creative power that you have been entrusted with, and that you, as a unique vessel, are able to channel. And this is a very, very, very powerful thing to have, if nothing else. And I think it's kind of the same for, someone who enjoys going to the gym. In my case, I love going to the gym. And it's like, what I love the most about it is finding out about what my body is able to do. I love the sense of progression. I love the sense of, asking people for help and advice with their own experience, being able to pick other people's brain and trying to see what sticks and what doesn't. There's an element of curiosity and creativity that is at play, that is valuable, regardless of if anyone hears it. But if you are aware that somebody might hear or see it or notice it, and you might get these opportunities, you might get these compliments, and you're having like the kind of imposter syndrome, is because most of it, I think, lies within the fact that you are tying so much, so much expectation and so much of desired outcomes to this specific thing, that you're so focused on the outcome that you're not seeing the magic you're creating in the moment with the thing every time you actually interact with it. And I think if you do this consistently enough, this feeling of confidence and security and power kind of becomes the norm. It kind of becomes familiar. And yeah, I sound very lively. I sound a lot more lively than on previous videos, but I literally had this lightning bolt of an idea, of this realization, as I was writing my lyrics, and I felt like I had to record something and let it out in the world, even if no one sees it. See, this is a prime example. I feel very empowered and very called to record these videos, even if at this stage I'm recording now, no one has kind of watched the four previous ones, but that's the point. That's kind of the point. You know, you're playing with your power, you're playing with whatever it is that you're able to do. I still think that what I'm saying is relevant. It's not about the views count, it's not about the subscriber count. This is the byproduct. These are the byproducts I was referring to. And yeah, bro, I don't know what else to say. I just wanted to hop in front of the camera real quick and put something out into the world. And hopefully it helps whoever sees it whenever they see it. I love y'all. Take care.